Hiya folks, John here. A very rare out of the office for a little bit while I've got to go and grab a few things from a shop. Right, so something quite important to talk about. Digital ID. You'll have noticed on my Facebooks for the last 5 or 6 years I've actually been preaching on about making sure that we never ever get this. Because what people don't seem to realise is that Britain is going to end up in a social credit society like parts of China have got, and I'll just give you a sort of brief example of what that includes. So in China, most of what their citizens do, paying bills, booking tickets, going on the internet, all sorts of services like hospitals, medication, dentistry, all those sorts of things, is all done through an app called WeChat. W-E-C-H-A-T. And the government over there run that app, and without it there's a lot of things that they can't do. But more than that, they have a social credit system. Now what that is say for example you start off when you're born or when you become an adult with a 100-point social credit score. And if you're a good little citizen and you do everything that you're supposed to do, you go to work, you pay your bills, oh, there's a car just pulling out on me now, they've stopped. You go to work, you pay your bills, you don't drop cigarette butts on the floor, you don't litter, you don't cause trouble, you don't go online and start slating the government or the authorities, etc., then you maintain your score. Or in some circumstances you probably gain points and become a higher member of society. Sorry, I've got the fidgets today, sitting at the computer all the time. Anyway, so then if you're a naughty little citizen, and I'm not talking about what would it be, breaking the law, I'm not talking about doing things that are criminal, I'm talking about regular everyday things. You might go on to Facebook, which they don't get, they've got WeChat chat I suppose, and have a pop at what the police are doing, or have a slanging match with the government or something like that. And then you get a knock on the door a few hours later at some random time in the night, and you get arrested, taken to the local Chinese police station, and there's videos where they lock you into this metal scaffolding frame chair thing so that you're basically stuck in it, it's like a body handcuff basically, and that's you. And then you're forced to apologise and beg and fawn and say, oh, I'll never do it again, I'll never do it again, and they probably lose a lot of their social credit points as well. And then you'll get to a certain level where you're not allowed to book plane tickets or train tickets or travel very far or get tickets to entertainment events and things, or go to certain places, or you'll be put to the back of the queue for operations and other medical treatments, all sorts of punishments and sanctions. Do you really want that to actually come to Britain? Do you really want it so we end up with a digital ID? Because this is what Britain are trying to do. They tried to do it with the COVID passport. What they wanted to do was, let me just get comfy. God, Bennett. I'm in my old car today. Anyway, what they want to do in Britain is bring in digital ID, and it'll end up having everything about you as a man or woman tied to it. So it'll have your medical records, it'll have your jobs, finances, criminal records, driving license, passports, all your other types and forms of ID. It'll have social media activity, political persuasion, whether you go to protests, facial recognition, whether you are a dissent against the government, whether you slate the government, whether you slate the police. It'll basically have everything about you. And coupling to that, if they do what they also want to do, which is get rid of cash, they can immediately implement a social credit society. And what they'll probably do is they'll block you from being able to purchase things, whether it be certain distances from where you live, which is the 15-minute city stuff that we saw over the last few years, or certain types of things. You might go into a supermarket and buy a weekly shop, and there might be crisps and snacks in there, and when you get to the till, I'm sorry John, but you're a bit too fat, mate. You're not allowed to order or buy any junk food for the next 2 months, 3 months, because it'll have all your medical records on there, and so on. Oh, well, you've been slating the government, haven't you, on Facebook? Oh, that's a bit naughty. Well, what we'll have to do now is we'll have to punish you by not allowing you to book plane tickets or train tickets. So you better cancel that holiday that you were planning because you're not going. Or, oh, I'm sorry, but you've already purchased your quota of unleaded petrol or diesel this month, so you're not allowed to buy anymore. And it starts fashioning a trend where people have to start rationing out the fuel they buy or the travel that they do because they know that they're going to hit their quota. All these things are very, very easy for them to switch on if they get this digital ID into place. The moment they oblige us to have to go beep at the entrance to a shop or the dentist or doctors, petrol stations, hotels, restaurants, sporting grounds, everywhere and anywhere, if they have locking doors that you've got to have a bit pass to get in, the moment they activate all of that, and the moment you've got to start showing a QR code to a scanner on the door, otherwise the door won't unlock, is the moment that we're all doomed, right? And there's videos on YouTube from 2020 where the British government had been spending billions of pounds into the research and development for these COVID health passports they were back then. And there's one called V Passport or something, or V Care COVID Passport, and it's a little video of a guy turning up at the dentist and he presses the doorbell, and then a woman comes outside and she's got an iPhone, and they stand about 10 feet apart. What's going on here? They're all going the wrong way. They stand about 10 feet apart and they show each phone to each other from a distance, and then it comes up approved, because that man has been a good little citizen and he's had all his jibby jabbies, and now he's allowed to go into the dentist building. And if he hadn't have had them, he wouldn't have been able to go in. Blackmail, coercion, absolutely disgusting. And we have to stop this. We have to fight. I think the 13th of September in London is probably going to look like a trial run for the size of the demonstrations that are going to come out of digital ID. So we've got to stop it. It will be the end of our freedoms. They'll be able to blackmail us into everything. You won't be able to contest speeding fines, parking tickets, or any types of things like council tax, because they'll have all your bank information and they'll just go in and take it. It'll be much, much worse than attachments to earnings that you'll have seen. You know, like if you've got a bill to pay and then it all ends up going through a court, and the only way that the person who wants the money, the creditor if you like, can get it is by getting an attachment to earnings before you get your wages paid. You've paid your PAYE taxes, and then you get the deductions for attachment to earnings, and then you get your money paid into your bank. So, you know, we really are right on the precipice now. We're just right at the very edge of the cliff. And this is not even a matter of the left versus the right. This isn't even a matter of that. It's got nothing to do with the right side of politics versus the left side of politics. It's not got anything to do with whether you are woke or not. It doesn't matter whether you prefer Corbyn or Reform or Advance UK. It doesn't matter whether you love or hate Tommy Robinson. It doesn't make any difference. It's going to affect you in exactly the same way. And you might think, oh, well, they can already track and trace us through all our carrying a smartphone, or the fact that the majority of things that we do online or purchasing is all done through bank cards and it's all electronic. That might be so, but there's no enforcement or blackmail attached to you walking into a shop and buying something with a credit card or a bank card. That, you know, there's no block on the door, there's no electronic door lock on Asda or Sainsbury's or wherever. You've got to go beep before you can get in. Oh, you've not had your jabs, mate. You're not allowed to go anywhere or do anything. And probably the only thing that you'll be able to do is buy petrol if it's a pay at the pump. And that's if you've still got enough quota left for your month's ration. They'll turn off your money if you're a naughty little boy or girl, and it won't be criminal records or crimes that you've committed. It will be political dissent, protests. They'll just try and silence and shut us all down. And I don't condone any violence. I don't condone any types of wars, anything like that. I wish that the whole bloody world would just get along and everything would be nice. But I am really worried that it's going to end up turning into mass civil unrest in Britain. And we already had the economy knackered up enough when they did all the shit that they did to us for COVID. And we can't afford any more of this totalitarian, authoritarian corporatocracy, because that's what it is. And this is the way that they're going to do it before I finish, because I'm here where I want to go now. Let me just have a quick drink and I'll explain this last bit. Right. While we have common law inalienable rights as men and women, and we've got human rights acts, and we've got human rights treaties, and we've got Runnymede, and we've got Magna Carta and all that sort of stuff, none of that is going to help us, because the government aren't going to force us to have a digital ID, but they are going to force businesses to comply and obey with the corporate rules. And if a shopkeeper allows you to walk in without beeping your beep, your ID or your entry pass, then the shopkeeper gets prosecuted, fined, imprisoned, closed down, whatever. They'll have the police or the Gestapo smashing the door down, like we saw during COVID, where there was some businesses that refused to close down. There was a tattoo shop that was quite notorious, and the police came smashing in because they wanted to continue working. There was various pubs that were doing lock-ins, and the police turned up and got rid of everybody there, and then started trying to heavily prosecute and fine the landlords. All they've got to do is force businesses to comply with new business rules, force it through their insurance policies being completely null and void, force it through legislation that prosecutes and closes down businesses altogether if they refuse to comply. And that means that the shopkeeper won't be allowed to let you walk in. And then you'll have to get a digital ID, and then you'll have to obey and comply with all the jibby jabbies and all the other nonsense that they think up in Parliament. So wake up. Now is the time. There is no time left.